With Mappa reanimating some key major scenes from the WIT Studio days, did they do a great job being faithful to WIT? Or is the manga the superior one?
Shut up and sit down.
Yo, what's good? It's a boy Dude Reviews and heavy spoilers for Attack on Titan the final season part 2 episode 81 from you 2000 years ago, as well as some gory scenes from the manga panels. You have been warned. First up, we got a wide shot of this beautiful field and the sky in the WIT Studio one, but in Mappa we just get a beautiful sky background. Next up, some slight different camera angles from WIT to Mappa. Mappa went for a close-up shot of the two girls, although the manga was more or less like how the WIT Studio one was. The hay behind Historia in the WIT Studio one is a little bit more detailed than Mappa, although there's a little bit more clarity and detail on the Mappa face of Historia race. I feel like the manga panel is a combination of both WIT and Mappa. The eyes and nose resemble the WIT one, while the mouth shape looks more or less like Mappa's. A slight close-up shot of Frieda blowing Historia's nose in WIT Studios one versus the wide shot of the two girls. I feel like the shadow on Historia and Frieda are a lot darker than WIT Studios one. Although the manga has a slightly more close-up shot of the two girls, there's a lot more motion on Historia as she's blowing her nose in Mappa's version. Plus, Historia's head is a lot smaller in the WIT Studio one, whereas the manga, her ear is a lot larger than either versions of the studios. Mappa went in for a close-up shot of Frieda's face, while WIT went for a mid-shot. I feel like Mappa was a little bit more faithful to the manga than WIT with this shot, although WIT did capture Historia blowing her nose pretty well. Slightly darker shadows on Mappa's version. WIT Studio and the manga have Historia looking up at Frieda, while in Mappa her head's turned away from the camera. WIT Studio went for a high angle shot of Historia talking to Frieda, while Mappa went for a close-up shot. WIT Studio of course adapted chapter 54's panel, while Mappa adapted chapter 122's panel. This scene is quite similar from WIT to manga to Mappa, except that the angle that Historia is facing in WIT Studios one is a lot similar to the angle in the manga, while Mappa has Historia looking a little bit sideways. Frieda's eyes are a lot bigger in the WIT Studio one and her face is a lot smaller and rounder versus Mappa where her eyes are smaller and her face is longer, similar to the manga version. Mappa went for a more desaturated look for the book panning, while WIT Studios one was a lot bright and colourful, but they both have more detail than the manga. Mappa went for a more dramatic and intense animation style versus the WIT Studio one. Grisha's face from chapter 63 to chapter 121 look more or less the same, although I do prefer Grisha's really wild expressions in Mappa's version. Next up we got the fight against the Shingeki no Kyojin versus the Founding Titan. Mappa actually animated her transformation while WIT Studio one just sort of cut straight to Frieda's Titan. I feel like Mappa's design is a little bit similar to the manga version where Frieda looks more like a demon, while WIT Studio one she looks more like a zombie. Plus Mappa have darker shadows and a little bit more detail, although the WIT Studio one has skin texture similar to the manga. WIT Studio and Mappa's Frieda Titan running cycle is a little bit different from one another. WIT Studio 1 has Frieda frailing her arms about, while Mappa it looks like she's trying to compete for the Olympics. Plus WIT has a little bit more motion on her chest and hair. WIT and Mappa did the exact opposite. Frieda punches Grisha first in the WIT Studio one, where Grisha actually punches Frieda in the Mappa one. WIT was a lot closer to the manga. There's a lot more blood as Grisha is beating the living daylights out of Frieda Rice. In WIT Studio, Grisha rips off Frieda's arm and then punches her, while Mappa, Grisha punches her again and again and again and then rips her arm off, doing the complete reverse of what WIT Studio did. Although Mappa did give us an extra scene of Grisha pulling Frieda's head, Frieda's expressions are a lot more clear in the Mappa version, but Grisha looks far more terrifying in WIT Studios one as he's ripping her nape off, but neither studio can compare to the great gory detail of the manga. We get a few more extra keyframes in the Mappa version of Grisha ripping Frieda's nape off. WIT Studio went for more sparks while Mappa went for more blood, being faithful to what the manga did. Mappa added extra blood as Frieda's head came tumbling down, but both WIT and Mappa are a little bit different to the manga. I feel like Grisha's Titan has a lot more muscle on him in the Mappa, while WIT has a lot more textures on his skin, but his face is far more terrifying in Mappa's version, being very faithful to what the manga did. Both WIT and Mappa had to censor the two kids being crushed by Grisha's hand, and then a slight angle change as he's stomping on the lady in the Mappa version. Although Mappa did uncensor this poor guy getting crushed by Grisha's hand, but that manga panel was way too gory for either studios to adapt. And that's about it. Tell me in the comments down below what you guys thought of these changes from manga to WIT to Mappa. Did Did you like them? Did you hate them? Which version is your favorite? Manga, WIT, or Mappa? Tell me. Like this video, subscribe for more Attack on Titan reactions, reviews, comparisons, breakdowns, rankings, and more. But thank you for watching. Boarded Reviews signing out.